And now, holy shit, folks.
I always remind people, I am suspended for life for minor hockey.
It's my duty to please the booty.
Did you catch a rattlesnake and then drive home with it in your car holding it the whole time?
Yep.
Phil only drinks Coke. He doesn't drink water. I'll fucking quit.
Fugazis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 439 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. Round one is in full swing. Lots of extracurricular shit going on. The hate is finally here, and this is our first ep of the week, but let's check in with the boys first. The Wit Dog, Ryan Whitney. What's new with you, guy?
Not much, fellas. Not much at all. Just ingesting, or is it digesting games?
Ingesting.
Is it ingesting, RA?
I think both work in this situation.
I don't know the difference.
I mean, digesting is like what happens in your stomach. I think ingest is when you're actually putting it down.
That's what happened to
I'm doing
RA
both.
before the podcast started when he painted the bowl. And that's why we started 15 minutes late.
Oh, the swordfish. Oh, my God. Well, yes. My weekend has just been, hockey related. The 4 games in one day, Saturday, Sunday, is so top notch. They finally figured out, start them all at different times. Biz, yesterday, you guys in Army hammered the whole day out, I believe. Today, Army and Keith are on 4 more games. It's just been hanging around watching action. And I have a lot of opinions. Some will be popular, some will be hated, but I have a lot of them. I'm not going to lie.
It's NHL's March Madness right now. I think we got to fucking, I don't even want to say it right now, but I'm very excited in real time. Currently, the LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers game is going on, so we're going to wait to talk about that till the end of the podcast. I want to get off the hop with it, but we're gonna save it as a little treat. I think we'd be remiss to not start off the podcast by mentioning the officiating right now. I understand that sometimes playoff times the hockey's a little bit faster and the crowd noise can create a little bit more anxiety for officials. It seems like there's a group of officials that are better than some that get the playoff responsibility, and they may be a little bit overworked. But I can't remember a first round where games have been impacted this much by some background. And listen, I'm benefiting from this right now, so I am loving it.
And by benefiting it, you mean talking on TNT and talking on Spittin Chiclets, correct?
And my teams, the 16 teams that I root for year over year.
I respect the hell out of you as a fan, because that's what it's. Some teams are getting fucked. Some teams' fan bases are getting hosed like I've never seen in my life. And I actually wanted to and it sucks to bring it up this early, and we'll get into the games and the action, and that is the best part by far. But we have to bring it up because we have new listeners all the time, boys. I'm meeting people. I met some guys last night. So when did you start listening? 2 months ago. So people who are maybe new to the NHL and new to our show, we feel so sorry for you. Nobody deserves to be watching this shit. It's unbelievable what playoff hockey used to be and what it is now. There's 5 million penalties a game, and most of them are the worst calls I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, Whit, that's the reason I was a little bit sensitive and taken off guard last week when you called me a homer about the bunting situation. The reason
bunting call was correct. The bunting call was the only one they got right.
I know, but the comments I made and why I said what I said on TNT was based on the fact that, sometimes they get hit in the head and then they take a bit of a dive and they go down the tunnel and they know if they leave that game that the punishment ends up being a little bit more. Am I saying that Cernak took a dive? By no means am I saying that. I was saying strictly if he ends up coming back that next game, I thought that he shouldn't get any games and that game would have been punishment enough. So I just want to make that very clear. But aside from that, I refuse to be a homer. And RA, I'm going to throw it over to you because I got nothing really much else to say as far as personal life stuff, because all I've been doing is ingesting or digesting or however the fuck you want to say it, all hockey, all day long, 24/7, right in my butthole.
Ding jesting's our new word. It's kind of a combo, if you guys get what I'm saying.
But I am butt chugging NHL coverage nonstop. Give it to me 24/7.
And quickly, before we go, RA, because I just want to mention this. Game Notes Daily, Couple clicks, boys.
Yeah.
Couple
That's
clicks.
why we brought those guys on board.
I got random people saying, where's Game Notes Daily on Saturday? I go, no, it's a Monday through Friday show.
Nope.
What a great move by those guys. I got to do one episode. I'm going to do one this week at least. 45 minutes, noon to 12:45 Eastern. It's a big time hit. It's awesome going over that night, and gamblers, they need it because that action's given out that night.
Look at
went
RA
on and they caught a
sweating
heater.
now.
They caught a heater on their Friday night.
Oh,
big
man,
time,
I
big
would
time.
say every time I look, Merle's is hitting these picks. I want to say this guy's batting 75%, and it's awesome to also see the representation of Keith Yandel and Armdog on the TNT panel tonight. So it seems like the Spittin Chiclets universe is on a rocket ship right now, just going sky rockets in flight, ooh, afternoon delight, ooh.
Merle's and I's buddy Miggs that we've mentioned before. He said Merle's gives out winners like no other, but he's down
crazy.
so much money. The show is giving winners, betting losers. Merle's can't win. Merle sent me a card. Green marks a win, X is a loss. There's 17 green marks and 2 red marks. He's like, I'm down money. He's just it's next goal bets. Then he doesn't get bets in. He said he hates Pasha with a passion because he would have been hammering the Rangers more. Goal, next goal, but he was with him and it was ruining his vibe.
Wow, that's just shows you the teammate that Merle's
Exactly.
is.
He
right?
didn't want to crush him right in the face. I would have been just pounding him, showing him the bet tickets.
So Merle's just flew back to Sweden finally. What a run he came over to North America on. So is he like the bad blackjack player where he wins more hands and loses but because it's his betting patterns? Is that why he's losing?
No, he's the guy who wins and wins it, but then when he hammers, he loses.
Yeah, okay.
Anytime he hammers, he loses.
He's the reverse Dana
And then
White.
the times he would hammer, he has no money from losing it all on the first hammer, and then he would have won, but he only has like $300 on it because he already had lost his bankroll on the other one. If you're catching my drift.
And we'll get to Merle's and Pasha in New Jersey at the Devils game. Pasha is public enemy number one. Now I understand why he doesn't wear the Devils jersey around, probably for his own public safety. But before we get to that, RA, I'm going to throw it over to you, and you can kind of drive the bus as to where we want to start this bad boy.
Well, we'll get to the hockey in a second first. First off, we got to give G a heads up, a little clap as well for the game notes. He's been a big part of that. And we had a Monster Friday, G. I mean, you had Taylor Hall. You come on and said, what was it, 2 points or more was what, plus 750 or something like that?
Yeah, so it's actually awesome. I knew it was. So I'm on the absolute hottest gambling streak I've ever been on in my entire life right now. And it all started with Game Notes Thursday. So the best part about Game Notes Daily is we interact with the fans in the chat. So the chat is dishing out picks throughout the whole show. So we've been funneling those comments on screen and then we bet them, and it's unbelievable. But Friday, I knew I was going to have a good weekend because I took the Taylor Hall bet plus 750. I said it on Game Notes, but on accident I took it twice. So I didn't realize it till the next, like after the game, that I looked at the bet and I'm like, oh my god, I put this bet in
you're hot, dude.
twice.
When you're hot, you're hot.
When you're hot, you're hot. So it was,
Wow,
I knew it was going to be a great
double
weekend.
So
You
these
double
fans,
dip the chip.
these fans are giving you inside info, like for instance, like Marcus Foligno must have plowed the official's old lady, and that's why he got snubbed on the 2 calls. Like, are these the type of little tips that are rolling in throughout Chiclets game notes Monday to Friday?
It's actually insane. People will be like, oh, this team, Carolina, hasn't lost a game 1 in 6 years. You have to hammer them. We got guys like Dave Singer, Roy. These guys, we've established characters now throughout the chat, and it's unbelievable. They just feed us picks.
Okay, I guess enough about game notes, but we also got to thank the people behind the scenes who are helping edit all this stuff and get it out. Elliot Fish, we have Quater, and then Sean Apuzzo. So we got a great staff right now helping out with all this stuff coming in, all this ingesting of playoff hockey.
Memesy too. Memesy's helping cut up some of those clips as well.
Dale Morningstar as well. So right from that that NYPD FDNY game, right in all this. So shout out to our crew. And now I will throw it back over to RA to get this bad boy rolling. Spittin' Chiclets, baby.
Just the fact
Chiclets, baby.
Memes' name is Dale Morningstar, and then once you've met him, he's straight out of a cartoon. Like he was created by someone up there, and he's now living life, just making us laugh.
It's like
on
Dirk
memes.
Diggler in Boogie Nights with the huge hammer. He was just meant to meme. Dale Morningstar.
One of my favorite things is when you send him a picture and ask him to like meme it up, and then he does the like LeBron D Wade dunk like thing. He puts like each of the faces on it. That's like one of my favorite things that he does. So yeah, he's the best. Also, one last thing with Merle's, the Cladno pick was both days he hit it both days. Swung my week, man. He's fucking unbelievable at that Europe stuff. So let's jump into the NHL stuff. Let's see. Tampa Bay, Toronto boys. That seems to be the hot topic this week.
The headline hogs, you think?
You think? Yeah, one of 3 overtime games Saturday. The Leafs, they pulled a rabbit out of their ass, tied the game with a minute left. Ryan O'Reilly fucking earned his keep the other day, scored with the extra attacker. Then Morgan Riley won it. 45 seconds left in the first OT. Nice little C&I shot. Looked like we were going to get a second OT. Didn't happen. Leafs got a 2-1 series, but there was a lot more stuff going on there. Biz, what's your take on the series so far? Let's go to the point hit and then the point goal. Like, what was your views on that? Both.
I actually want to back it up just a little bit and how irritated Coop seems to be getting with the media. And it was a question following that throttling in Game 2. What a response by the Leafs. They needed it. All guns a-blazing. They scored off those 2 face-off plays right away. The one, just a simple D to D to Marner. And I tweeted it out, and I've been talking about it on the broadcast. I feel like it's the year of the face-off goal. How many goals within the first 5 seconds of winning a faceoff? So that gets the ball rolling, and then they up going to throttle them. So after the game, one of the Leafs media members, probably a mole from Shanahan and Dubas, the way that the chaos has been ensuing, they ask him about
the WWE.
It's the WWE at this point. They ask him about how like basically intimidating it is going against Matthews, Tavares, and O'Reilly, and he just scoffs at the question, saying, "I'm taking Point, Cirelli, and Paul all day long." And I love that about Coop. He sticks up for his boys, and these guys are also proven too, right? So he just hates the audacity of the question, and I feel like a couple series, and we'll get into Minnesota, Dallas. There was a lot more drama following Game 3 as well. But going to Game 3, Leafs had no business winning that hockey game. They got completely dominated. I didn't think Samsonov looked very good early in that game. I thought each of the 3 goals in regulation were soft, but as in that end of the third period, or maybe most of the third period in overtime, Samsonov showed up, and they needed that. Whit, you touched on it last podcast about the D and why Liljegren's not in the lineup. Butch Goring on the broadcast was chirping Brody. Between Hall, Brody, and McCabe, one of them needs to be out. Way too much of one thing. They need Liljegren, a puck-moving defenseman. Moving to later in the game, though, in that third period when that hit ensued. Whit, we can both agree on this. Maybe not the bunting suspension, but we can both agree that was clean. Those are 2 players going to the corner, battling for position, and both of them stuck their shoulder in there, and it just so happens Braden Point gets the worst of it. It was an ugly collision, and even worse, crashing into the wall. It looked awful, and then all of a sudden you see Kucherov come over to protect his teammate and end up clobbering Riley and busting up his nose. He had to go down the tunnel for repairs because I think it looked like he had the one nostril that was gushing blood everywhere. And then the rest of the melee ensues. This is one of the things that ends up getting talked about in the post-game press conference by Keefe about how Stamkos trying to manipulate the officials, and we'll get to that later. First time in NHL history that 2 60-goal scorers had a fight in Stamkos and Matthews. I love it for Matthews because to me it's like it's his first ever professional fight, and it's like it's his introduction to playoff hockey. So I hope that this sparks him and gets him going. But overall, from Keefe's comments, I didn't like the soundbite of it, but from the collision standpoint, it's like
it made no sense. It made no sense.
Well, it made no sense in a sense where like like all of a sudden there was nothing. There was no penalty on the play. Everything was offsetting where Kucherov jumped Riley, and then Stamkos grabbed Matthews and started feeding him. So is there no instigator there? All of a sudden, that becomes a distraction to where it just becomes an offsetting penalties where, remember, Riley didn't do anything wrong there. Like, they reviewed it. He didn't do anything wrong. It was just a normal collision. Would you not agree?
Yeah, it was bad how it ended for Point, but I didn't think. But I put it this: I understand calling 2 minutes on that play just because of how he went into the boards. is that ridiculous? Because the way it looked, right? Until I saw the replay in slow motion, I was like, dude, did he just like crush him from behind? You know what I mean? I know he's not.
I know, but right, correct. So it either is a penalty or it isn't, and because they call the 5, they get to review it and they see like it's obviously it was both guys battling for it. That makes Keith's comments. That makes me understand them a little bit more, where all of a sudden the decoy of like Kucherov didn't get any extra or Stammer didn't get any extra from grabbing him and fucking starting to throw him at Matthews as an instigator.
His explanation, and for people who aren't really aware, he said that they're manipulating the officials by going into that like issue as points down and knowing that they're already going to be down a man. Is that what he said? Right? He said right? Okay,
Yes.
so that's ridiculous. The reason they're jumping in there is because Kucherov sees his buddy look like he fucking broke his back or his shoulder, and he's just immediately being a good teammate. Like, he's making it sound like they're like subconsciously or on purpose. I guess subconscious is the complete wrong word. They're purposely like, oh, we can jump in now. That's not how it works. You know that, Biz. That's an
No, buddy, I get it, but I also think that when he spoke media-wise, it didn't come off properly. That's the way that I understood it, where it's like all of a sudden we're evened up here, where we can both agree that the Riley penalty shouldn't have been a penalty. So it's like, okay, there's nothing there, and all of a sudden Kucherov comes over the top, Riley gets bloodied up, and then Matthews ends up getting clobbered by Stamkos. So it's like, all of a sudden it's evened up. It seems like Tampa inflicted more damage and they ended up doing all right out of the whole doggy pile.
Yeah, here's my issue with all this as a Leafs hater. I feel as like one of the leaders of the Leaf haters, like on the internet, maybe out in the world. This is worrisome because the Leafs don't win that game. The Leafs are not a team who wins that game. And they're also not a team who gets in the mix and really has that like what'd you call it, doggy pile? Like, that's action. The Leafs, they usually seem to cower in the playoffs, but they're
correct.
They're right. I mean, granted, Tampa guys are grabbing them, but it was a game that the Leafs never win, and it was a game where you saw some real passion and anger and fight in the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they pulled it out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, because that was domination. Domination.
Oh my God.
Now let's go back to, and I respect you being an honest fan. That game was 4-2. That is the biggest joke of all time. The puck is sitting there. It's the goalie does not have control. He pokes it in. How in the world is that not a goal? Like, I don't even understand. I was in the process of blowing the whistle. Like, it doesn't. That's a goal. If you don't see the goalie covering the puck, and 100% sure, and you saw it in Boston and Florida today, Game 4, the ref did a great job. Bobrovsky, he could tell, had no idea where it was, and he kept it going, and Marchand tapped it in.
Great example.
This was more. I thought the puck was more available and obviously like still open to be whacked in the point one.
Agreed.
And they got screwed. And this is one of 14 calls where we have to talk about.
Oh.
And we have to talk about them breaking down the series. But you know what? Toronto pulls it out. By no means do I think this series is over. I said Tampa in 7. Toronto they're a good team. But you're right. With those 3D, the way they played, Brody, Hall, and McCabe, get Liljegren in there.
So
Get him
Brody
moving
was the
puck
one
out
who
of the
just
zone.
threw that backhand pizza where it should have ended up being 4-2. And at that point, I believe it's when Butch Goring's like, this guy's having a tough night. Like, you don't hear guys on the broadcast usually be that open and honest when a guy's struggling. But it's just I understand why they did it, right? So they added Shen, and now they have all these big guys to combat this, this big Tampa Bay lineup with this experience. But they got rid of Sandin, and then they had Liljegren. I get that Liljegren might not have had the best end of the season, and maybe the
Who
pressure
cares
with
at this point?
I agree because as you saw, they were having a hard time breaking out of their own end come that third period in overtime. So you can't be so one-dimensional on the back end. And as far as Hall's concerned, I feel like Keith just has a real soft spot for him where I feel like he's toe picking a lot and he's losing his balance. So from my standpoint, playoffs is all about adjustments. I feel like one of those guys should come out and Liljegren should be inserted. Now going back to Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, what a game.
you say they don't usually win those games. They don't. But they have Ryan O'Reilly. That's why they went and picked him up. He gets an assist on that first goal to get things going for the Leafs. He has a huge face-off win, obviously, in overtime. But going back to that tying goal, just the way to understand that the only place that was really open on the ice was the net front, and to go there. And great job by Nylander to recognize, because it was kind of typically Nylander's looking to make a fancy play. He just throws it there. And what Ryan O'Reilly's so good at is finding those puck in his feet, and he kicks it right to his skate, or kicks it right to his blade, and then just fires that off. Oh my God! I'm having a hard time containing myself right now, guys. It is 3-0 for the LA Kings over the Edmonton Oilers right now.
So much for spoiling.
Oh, I know. RA, I can't, because I can see Witt's face, and it's
fucking
killing
unbelievable.
me.
Let's keep going. I want to keep talking Toronto. I can't think about this right now.
But as they continue to get dominated in overtime, every time they needed a play, Ryan O'Reilly was there to make it. And Vasilevsky, I want to go to him. I actually wrote this down. I was talking to Jazzy Jeff, who works for TNT. Vasilevsky, since the start of the 2020 playoffs, in games following a loss, he's 21-2, and he's got 5 shutouts. So that was only the 3rd time since 2020 that he's lost consecutive games come playoff time. And then even you go back to game 2, RA, there's been a few times in that run since 2020 that he's been shelled. He doesn't like getting pulled, because you only get so much time to absorb information, the way that pucks coming off guys' sticks that you're playing against in a series, the way that they're generating their opportunities, and where a lot of it's coming from. 84 straight playoff games for Vasilevsky without getting pulled. You know who's got the record? He's currently in 2nd place.
Ottinger.
Hank?
Ottinger. Are you out of your fucking mind? It's Martin Brodeur, 86 straight playoff games without getting the yank, which is absolutely remarkable. So Vasilevsky, I don't want to say it was weak, because it was a great job by Riley to just kind of step to the side and then shoot through that screen.
It's not his fault.
I mean, man, you got to use your... Okay, all right.
I think
listen, that's why I went in gentle. I didn't go Butch Goring on it. I went in gentle. I said, seemed like a bit of a weak one on just a simple shot from the blue line from Riley, just stepping to the side, way outside the dot. But either way, back-to-back losses for Vasilevsky, so the Leafs have figured him out. That's what I'm excited about. But I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, because you look at all these series where they were in the bubble against Montreal, you look against Boston, you look against Tampa, they always have the 2-1 lead. So they have to go out. I would say, Whit, I would go as far as saying is, I believe the winner of the series is the one who wins Game 4.
Okay.
That's that. Right. That I truly believe that.
All right.
As far as Samsonov, though, I know I was critical of him, Whit, but late in the 3rd and in overtime especially, he saved their bacon. And I hope that that gives him the confidence in order to spring forward and just keep winning games and put whatever that fucking Game 1 nonsense was behind him.
And this is not Toronto bias, where you're constantly discussing the Maple Leafs, which we do, but this is WWE, and now we have to get into the real WWE part of it. What is your GM doing? What is he doing? I have never... They show Steve Yzerman. You know, you've seen him up there. You know, granted they haven't been in the playoffs, but you've seen these legendary GMs sitting there. When have you ever seen a GM yelling down at fans on the opposing team? What is he doing? Is he just? And this
are you asking me?
I hold on. This was, I believe they've proved, because there's a video of him in the background, the games on the TV in the box. It was while Point was down, so it was like, I don't know if he's yelling something about. Somebody says that I'm not even going to say what I've read that he was yelling about, because I don't believe it online. But tell me why your GM is screaming at fans of the Lightning.
They were yelling like, "Go back to Canada." They were yelling obscenities, and I can understand where most people would be like, "Hey, man, like you're not a proven GM. You haven't won anything. Like just sit down." You wouldn't see other GMs, especially the ones that you mentioned, like Steve Yzerman. Like there's no way that you could get a reaction out of Steve Yzerman as a general manager if he's in there. But you know what? As a doobie, as a defender of Kyle Dubas, you have to be yourself. And if that's the type of emotion and that's what he's going through and that's the stress that's been put on his shoulders with having to be the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, sitting there next to Jason Spezza, if that's what he wants to do and he wants to go back at that people yelling obscenities at him. Is that how you say it? Obscenities?
Obscenities, yep.
That's a classy way of saying fuck and shit and fuck you, go back to Canada. Because I've classied it up for this podcast. I agree with Doobie. Fuck those people for yelling at him. Go in there in game 4, get that win, and give him the fucking double barrel on the way out, and then close it out in 5. Fuck them.
right.
Go
All right,
Leafs, go.
Then lose to the Bruins in 4.
And
All right, don't get me started. Let's take
thing.
it one at a time here.
Last thing on that series, would you agree? If Tampa plays like that again, like they're winning game 4.
I think that you're going to see the best game the Toronto Maple Leafs have ever played in game 4. And they're okay, a couple problems here. They couldn't break it out. I think if they don't put Liljegren in, they're idiots. And they need to establish a forecheck. They need to establish a forecheck like they did in game 2. And we're not done talking about the Leafs because sometimes with heartache, like losing Bunting for 3 games, comes opportunity. And what I've seen from Matthew Knies so far, I'm very impressed from this young guy. He's a big body. He protects the puck. And I was actually a little bit pissed off that they didn't bump him up lines given how he was playing in the midst of that third period and overtime because I felt like he had the juice and I feel like he should be playing with some more skilled players on the top line, especially the way that they were going. They looked scared. They looked timid. I didn't like it. But as we mentioned, if you're going to go win 16 games and win a Stanley Cup, you can't win them all pretty. There's got to be a few ugly ones. So shout out to Samsonov. Shout out to Ryan O'Reilly.
Enough. Let's go. Come on. All right. He's mentioning 16 wins. Like, let's start with 4. Let's go to another series.
All right, my apologies. I'm getting a little ahead of my skis here.
I think we got to go to the game before that, though, Whit, a little. It was pretty entertaining, even though it was a blowout. Janot and Chen had a nice scrap. And then they sent the guys to the box. And then you had this donkey in the yellow hoodie yelling at the guys. And then you had did you hear Phyllis Bizzito? He's like, there's a fat woman down there. Well, either that or it's a guy with long hair yelling at the bench. I was like, holy shit, this is like a mayhem. Then you had the big rig with a stick. Then you had Corey Perry pulling it down. I don't know who was trying to hit who at what. And then Corey Perry gets the boot. He does another walk of shame. He's had more fucking dramatic exits than fucking Grey's Anatomy. I said that in the fucking Instagram. Like, Perry loves getting tossed out in front of everybody. That was pretty entertaining, even though it was a blowout. But fucking, I'd love to have fly on the wall in that box that.
Yeah, and a cool moment, too. I mean, Tavares signs there. It was this crazy story, leaving the Islanders. And to get the first hat trick in the playoffs since Mogilny, I think, in 2003, to tie that series up, that had to feel good. So, I mean, hate the Leafs as much as I do. I can respect that. Yeah, that was just an utter beatdown. That's why Game 3 was actually, it felt like the first real game of the series. It was just, there were 2 shit kickings. They weren't competitive, and then things changed. And now I think you're going to see 1-goal, 2-goal games the rest of the way out.
Were you a little poopy pants about my Leafs talk because of the way the Oilers game's going with?
Yeah, I'm down as bad. I'm already thinking just win at home game 5, then you maybe squeeze one out 6 there, and then who knows 7 at home. But it's unbelievable.
From how I felt a week ago to now, it's been the Bulgarian reversal on you.
The ultra Mongolian reversal.
Yeah, the Mongolian. I thought it was Bulgarian.
Before we go any further, you know what I'm here for, and that's to bring up my love and passion. New Amsterdam Vodka's own Pink Whitney. It's got my name on it. It's incredible, the feedback, the amount of people that drink it, the amount of people that enjoy life when Pink Whitney's in the mix. And if you haven't tasted it, please go out, grab a bottle. You'll enjoy life. You'll have fun with the people you drink it with. It tastes phenomenal. You catch a nice buzz. And at the end, you just get to get another bottle the next night. That's how this works. We have people sending us pictures of hundreds of empty bottles around their apartments. Dorm rooms packed with Pink Whitney. Nips being brought into sporting events. It's the best drink you can drink. It's the best drink for winter. It's the best drink for summer. It's the best drink on a golf course. It's the best drink on a boat. It doesn't matter where you are. The taste, the smoothness, and the color all combine into one to make a powerful drink that brings you smiles and brings you joy. Without New Amsterdam, we don't exist. Without New Amsterdam, Pink Whitney doesn't exist. And thank you so much for supporting our brand and buying that drink and catching a buzz while laughing with the fellas or the ladies, because we know the ladies love the Pink Wit. Maybe not me when I'm pink from in the sun, but they love the drink. So thank you to New Amsterdam. Back to the podcast.
Let's go to Minnesota-Dallas. That was a game that just finished on Sunday night. Dallas tied the series 3-2. I was kind of running around getting some food and coming home. I didn't see too much at the end of this. So, boys, take us up to speed at the end of this game. I know there was some bad, another bad call. How close was it toward the end, though?
It was a great game. ... ruined by the refs. Ugh. The Minnesota fans, and Marcus Foligno in particular, have every right to be as upset as any fan base in the league right now. First of all, from the beginning of game one, this series had it all. It was action-packed. It was physical. The hit on Pavelski, it all started, and it's all been kind of snowballing since then. And Minnesota is a bigger, stronger, tougher team. If you ask me, I picked Dallas. They played the perfect home game today. I shouldn't say perfect, but they were dominating the first half of the game. All over them. The odd man rushes, I believe, were 6-1. The 2-on-1 breakaway. And Ottinger, you guys, we talked about what he did against Calgary last year, really putting his name on the forefront as like top young goalies in the NHL. He was unreal today. He made basically a game-saving save at the end, an unreal robbery of Johansson, I believe it was. But throughout the first half, he was just lights out, like rebound control. Every chance they had, no problems for Dallas. It was so ridiculous that I bet Dallas next goal because I'm like, this is how the playoffs go. You just dominate, you get one. I won that bet. I've been cold. But these calls on Foligno. So the first call, Hakanpää's bringing it around the net, or the puck comes around him on the wall. He basically continues it moving along the boards, and Foligno runs him over. The perfect hit. I guess nowadays you have to think if they were going to call something, maybe boarding? No.
Or a charge?
No. He gets 2 minutes for interference. I'm like, what the hell is that call? What happens? Dallas, bang, power play goal. The game continues. Third period. It's a hell of a game. The refs do not need to get involved. Let the players play out the game. That's what I'm begging in every series. Foligno basically dodges a Marchand hit, or did he? No, he went to hit.
No, he went to hit him, and he had him lined up perfectly, and Marchment just jumped to try to avoid him, and he clips him in the face and cuts him. Foligno goes down. They call him for a tripping.
Biz, he was on the ground, and the announcer, I forget who it was, he's like, I think Foligno's getting a penalty here. I was like, what? And then Foligno's going to the box, bleeding, because he just got high-sticked. And he's like, what the hell is happening right now? How am I getting the penalty? And boom, Dallas power play goal. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's robbery. And what did Foligno say after the game? He said both calls on me were bullshit. That was his exact quote.
Ching, ching.
And he's right.
That's going to be a tough night overall. 2 penalties, goals scored on both of them, and then losing, that $25,000? How much they charge guys for calling out the officials?
And stitches in the nose.
Going to have to breathe right on next game. Great Seguin stepping up. Net front presence. What are they missing right now? Pavelski. And I saw a lot of Dallas fans chiming in on our social media being like, hey, the fucking calls were bullshit the other way too. Did you mention the Hakanpää one where they made things interesting? The one on Zuccarello where they ended up making it 3-2. And even the Dadonov one where it just felt like a similar situation to the Point and Riley going for a puck battle where they just both tried to hit each other and then Nyquist ended up getting the raw end of the deal. Well, Dallas ends up killing that one off, and then Dadonov was the one who scored right out of the box to make it 2-0. So to go back, we talked about how the press conferences has been very interesting between Tampa Bay and Toronto. Well, Dallas and Minnie have been going at it a little bit. Dean Evison calling them out for a lot of the diving going on. Even to the point where Dumba's on the ice taunting them about diving. Foligno was taunting them about diving, and then And then DeBoer said right back in the press conference, he said, we know they're an undisciplined team, and we're just going to continue to take advantage on the power play. I guess the one semi-question mark was, were they going to continue to do the flip-flopping of the goalies? Well, after Game 3, as Minnesota dominated and took that one, I think it's going to be Gustafsson the rest of the way. The only other thing I wanted to chime in on was Zuccarello. I think he looks fucking unbelievable. He really took over that game 3 and a big reason why they won. He got them started and just battling in front of that like a bastard. Not the fastest guy, not the biggest guy, but just hockey intelligence and effort. He's getting it done. He's been a big guy for them right now.
And Ryan Hartman, built for the playoffs. This guy, he's flying around out there. No wonder, game 1, that was a huge loss. He comes back. He's way better like at creating than I gave him credit for. I mean, he makes nasty plays. He's just also a dog to play against. So, yeah, it's just that's going 7. I got no doubt in my mind that's going 7. But the other guy is this Brock Faber kid.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. He saved the game again today. Now, they ended up losing. In game 1, he was the hero on the diving play in overtime to just deflect a goal away. Well, they were down 2-1 today. He put his stick. It was an easy goal. And I forget who it was on Dallas. It's escaping my memory, but Faber saved it again. And then I saw this article in The Athletic. I don't know the author, sorry, but if you go to the Minnesota Wild page or the NHL page, it's right there. Talking about his story playing for Minnesota. He was an LA pick, gets traded in the Fiala deal. There's a picture of him, front row on the glass at a game while he was on Minnesota, going nuts as Kaprizov scored his 47th goal, which I believe broke the record for Wild in a season. I could be making that up. But now, a year later, or it might have been 2 years ago, he's like playing a huge role for this team from Minnesota. It's just like the coolest story going. So amazing to see. You mentioned Nyes and then Faber just hopping in right from college. It's impressive as hell. The pace of the playoffs going from college hockey. That's you got to be a special player and a smart player too. You got to have that mental game to be able to read the play and hop into it and do this well. So I love the hockey in that series, but that game was just a complete joke officiating wise, and it ruined an unreal physical, highly paced, action packed game that I was watching the entire way through, just amazed at Foligno, the calls against him.
I know we were talking about him getting hosed, but I think overall he's looked unbelievable. He had 23 goals last regular season, only 7 this year. Definitely an off year. When you hit playoffs, sometimes it's nice to hit the reset button where he looks like a completely different player right now. Very effective, and hopefully he doesn't let that rattle him. And there was a stat. He scored in that game 3, and so did his brother Nick. I believe it's the first time in NHL playoffs where 2 brothers have scored in the exact same day.
No, since the Sedins did it.
Oh, since the Sedins did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, back in 2010, the Sedins did it, yeah. But still a pretty cool thing, Biz, nonetheless.
I kind of wanted to make up my own stat there, but I guess we'll roll with the real one.
Parade.
Guys, real quick, we're talking stats. Jake Ottinger has been incredible. His .941 career playoff save percentage is the highest on record since 1955 by a goalie age 24 or younger. So that's a nice, fun stat for your BU guy right there.
BU guy, and this kid I saw right after the game, Army and Keith, they were interviewing him, and Army gave him a great question talking about he's 19-1-2 coming off a loss this year. And he actually goes, I didn't even know that, but he went into talking about how to be the best, you got to really just get back in the saddle, get that win. He talked about Vasilevsky's. I mean, you brought it up in that series. Vasilevsky coming off a loss, like that's the sign of a great goalie. So they have, and Heiskanen, the Robertson, Heiskanen, and Ottinger thing is nuts. That's their future. They have a crazy bright. Future with that organization going on runs. I do though. I think Minnesota ends up winning this series.
How about saving your team in one draft? The draft where they drafted in the first 39 picks. The Dallas had 3 picks in the first 39 picks. They got Ottinger, they got Robertson, and they got Heiskanen. Wow. How about fuck that? I mean, insane. You talk about the cornerstone to any championship team. You need a stallion up front. You need an ace on the back end, and then you need a goaltender. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. That'll save Jim Neal's job for another 10 years. It was also cool because on the broadcast, they kept panning back to Ottinger's parents. If I ever have kids, I would never want them to be a goaltender. That's got to be the most nerve-wracking gig in the world. They had the mom had her fucking coat buttoned up to like past her eyes. She just couldn't even watch. All right, what's your feeling on this series? Anything that you wanted to chime in with?
I mean, it's been great so far. You got the history too, the whole idea that Dallas left Minnesota to go down there. The whole former North Stars team. I think it might go 7 in a heartbeat. It was Joe Smith, our buddy, who wrote the article on Faber. Knowledge is good, but I want to talk about Matt Dumba, man. I mean, I know they thought he was going to get traded every week this season. He's been a fucking maniac out there. I mean, I don't know if Marchman banged his old lady back in the day, but he buried him the game before today into the boards like twice, and then he mocked him like pretending like he was overplaying it. Man, he's been like a little fucking.
Well, that goes
out there.
back to the fact that they've been like even Foligno mocked them about the diving. So that happened. It happened more in the first 2 games. I haven't really seen it much from Dallas moving forward. So I'm imagining with the comments in the media that DeBoer told them, "Hey boys, they're probably going to be looking for it now." But just the shenanigans in the post-game press conferences have been unreal in this series as well. So a goaltending battle. I agree with you, RA. I think it's going 7-2.
And to get like that triumvirate, like a goalie, a fucking dynamic forward, and a great defenseman all in one draft, like you try to build that over fucking 5-10 years on your team to get them all in one thing, man. That's absolutely insane. Dallas was able to like reboot their whole franchise in one draft. So,
hey guys, before we go any further, I want to talk to you about Game Time. Game Time is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Created by fans for fans, Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. Me and Grinelli have been taking advantage of this a long time now. Playoff games, concerts, whatever you want to go see, use Game Time. It's possible to snag those seats with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, no printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text so you can get to the games seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Game Time app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Florida, Boston. That was another game today. Boston won 6-2. They now have a 3-1 lead in the series. They did not have Krejci. He's not going to be available Wednesday. Florida did not have Ekblad. They started Bobrovsky today. Marchand, same. You were talking about that play a few minutes ago. With same thing that happened the other night with Point. He plays the whistle. And did you see the replay? The ref was, did nothing wrong. He was looking right down, and he didn't blow it. And the puck went right by him. It was like almost like directly underneath him. But
I thought he was in perfect position where in the Toronto game, the ref was in the corner, and that's probably why he blew it sooner than he had to. But hey, man, with this series and the adversity that Boston's faced, I look to Don Sweeney and those deadline deals that he made to secure the fact that if they did have a couple bumps and bruises along the way, that they could still get it done. I was a little bit nervous for Boston going into Florida, boys. And especially with you lose your 2 first center icemen. And what was the hardest thing about losing Bergeron, too, is they weren't starting with the puck. They weren't snapping draws back. Where on special teams, especially power play, every time in the offensive zone, you're starting with the puck. So there was a lot of holes in that lineup, and Charlie fucking Coyle. And not only on top of that, him having to play that first-line center role, Florida was trying to go for the head of the snake. Florida was trying to entice him. Tkachuk was going after him. Then at some point he got double-teamed, and he just kept his composure. He kept calm. And what does he do? He scores that fucking opening goal by going net front presence and battling for position on Barkov and gets it done. Hall and Foligno, 2 guys who were hurt at the end of the year. Buddy, Hall looks like he's back to the year where he won the Hart Trophy.
4
He's
points
dangling guys. He's got that low center of gravity skating up and down the ice. He's flying out there. So Bertuzzi, his contributions. I think McAvoy's leading playoffs in hits right now. So talk about this group looking within and elevating their play in the absence of 2 of their biggest players. Holy fuck, the big bad Bruins are back.
They've always been here. You picked him to miss the playoffs. What happened to Krejci, RA? Any idea?
I haven't heard anything.
He's already out for Wednesday, they said?
Yeah, they said he won't be in Wednesday, and Bergeron is a possibility.
He had that lower body injury nagging him at the end of the season, so I would assume it's something along those lines.
McAvoy is a truck.
Wow.
And the question marks going into Game 3 and how bad the Bruins were, not only in Game 2, they weren't good in Game 1 either. He starts Game 3 off 4 seconds in, running over Lundell. I think it was Lundell. It's like this guy sets the tone. And then today he runs over Tkachuk. And it's not just the hitting. Like, there's physical D-man. He's making the perfect outlet pass. He's playing great defense. He's got good gap. He's just, like, turned into we've said it all year. He's a true stud #1 defenseman. And R.A., going to you, can you apologize to everyone?
I got to know first for what for.
Oh, Allmark?
You wanted to
Oh,
pull.
no. Yeah.
You wanted to pull Linus Ullmark.
Well, I said
Not only
that's
is this guy saving the game as a goalie, he's dropping the mitts and trying to square off with Matthew. Like, you wanted to pull the Vezina winner, and look at what he's done right in your eye, games 3 and 4. You should apologize to all Bruins fans.
Just to clarify, I didn't say pull him. I said start Swayman next game. That's pull
Is that worse?
Actually in the game.
Is that worse?
What a semantics argument that is, Biz. You hear what he just
You
said
can't get
to
pulled. You can't get pulled during the middle of the week, not during the game. You get pulled during
me?
the
You
game.
know what I
got a couple.
Pull
I got
him
a couple
as the
questions.
starter.
I got a couple questions. Is that worse than me saying that the Bruins will miss the playoffs? 1, and 2, was the reason that you were saying that is because I feel like before both games they were saying that Allmark was questionable. Now, is that based off injury, or was I just reading some bozo on Twitter saying that Allmark was questionable?
The second was the third game. They said he was maybe not even going to make the trip because when they had the morning lines, the Providence kid there, Boosie, he was the one backing up Swayman Friday morning. So it didn't even look like he might even make the trip. So I mean, I think he's definitely a little bit hobbled. You saw him a little slow today, a couple saves getting up. He was fantastic.
He didn't do his post-game press conference either because he was getting treatment on an injury as well.
The fact that he's playing through treatment and playing the way that he's playing is fucking insane. Because for a goalie, as a forward, it's easy to hide. Easier, obviously, than any other position because you have 2 other line mates. As a D-man, a little bit harder. But as a goalie, and especially the way that the Florida Panthers snap it around. Did you see that power play today where they ended up scoring? Where they must have had 10 scoring chances and he's just going post to post, kicking saves out. Now, RA, but I can't let you off the hook here. Even if healthy, it seemed like you were willing to lean towards Swayman in Game 3. I just don't really understand your defense of him winning the Vezina and then also willing to just move on from him when he saved them in Game 1 because I didn't think that they played that great. And then he got maybe lit up in Game 2 where, I wasn't crazy about that Verhaeghe goal, but what's your overall reasoning where you're just like, oh, they don't really need goaltending because of their structure?
Well, first
say
off,
sorry. It's easier to just get ahead of it and say sorry.
I mean, I'll apologize to Allmark for saying you should have not played Game 3. But, I mean, we always hear this team, they have 2 number 1 goalies. So, like, if one guy's hurt or he's a little banged up, then if you have 2 number 1 goalies, which is the kind of the party line we hear from the team, then fucking just put Swayman in. If you got 2 number 1s and one guy's a little dinged up.
Can we agree that they don't? Can we agree that they maybe don't think that, or Montgomery doesn't? Because if he's banged up and he's still not playing Swayman, like maybe it's not even a question in his mind.
Exactly. That kind of puts that to bed. That they have, they think they have 2 number 1s. Now, I think Swayman's up for the job 100%. Obviously, Allmark's the number 1. He had a great year, but no, I don't regret saying it. I mean, he didn't have a great game too. I know the team in front of him sucked, but I thought a couple of those goals he didn't look great at, and it's the playoffs, man. And throw a fucking new goalie out there, maybe shake the team up. He's a good goalie, Swayman. It wasn't like I was down on Allmark. I know he said he's gonna win the Vezina. Everyone's gonna fucking say that, but it wasn't
maybe you have
Allmark.
PTSD from when Rask was hurt. And he was trying to battle through it. So I guess we can move on. We can move on from Boston. Or no, do we have more things to mention?
I was going to mention one
Orlov.
thing, guys. Dmitry Orlov has been fucking incredible.
Yeah.
He became the 6th defenseman since 1997 to register a point in each of his first 4 playoff games with the franchise, joining Chris Russell, Jack Johnson, Chris Pronger, Matthias Oland, and Ryan Whitney. 4 games with Anaheim.
Thanks, guys. Not too many. You know what? I had no idea. They must have been the most trash secondary assists. That was when we beat San Jose, who won the President's Trophy that year. We were the 8th seed. And I don't remember 1 point, so I'm guaranteeing that they were pretty trashy points. But I'll take being on that list. I got hit up quick when that list was released, and I loved being on it. But when you can't remember one of the 4 points, that's tough look. And I got a trash memory, so maybe one of them was like maybe a first assist. It wasn't a goal, I don't think. But you know what? The Bruins having Orlov, McAvoy, Lindholm on the ice at all times, it's just unfair. And Tkachuk today, what a player, what a season. But that penalty he took at the end of the period on Garnet Hathaway was a dumb penalty. He went in and he gave him a vicious cross-check right above the pants before the shoulder pad start. Could have broke a rib. Maybe he did. And boom, penalty, B's score. And, of course, Merle's text to the group, guys, Bruins' next goal is only minus 130, and they're going on the power play. Bing, they bang it home. So it was a masterclass of depth. Biz brought that up. It just sucks, like, wanting the Bruins to, go on a run for Bergeron and Krejci and these guys, their last kick at the can, it seems like. And to have them both injured, I don't think they – actually, I know they can't win the Stanley Cup. Without Bergeron. Now, he's possible to play, but they definitely won't do shit even in the next round, no matter who wins, Tampa or Toronto, without those guys healthy. So that's a kick in the dick for Bruins fans.
So are we writing off the Florida Panthers? You guys think it's done? They can't seem to get the goaltending right now. I know Lyon had a great push at the end of the year. I don't think that goaltending played a factor either way. They just gave up way too many high quality scoring chances. The discipline's not there, and I just don't think their back end's good enough. But
no Ekblad kick they can't come back from that. They need him out there.
Yeah.
Biz, do you think if they kept Bruno, it would have been much of a difference with him or Maurice? It really wouldn't have mattered who was coaching them this year.
No, because because it comes down to personnel. I just don't think that they have the personnel compared to Boston. Like, it's easy to always look towards coaching, and in fact, I praise Maurice where he seems to be very calm demeanored, and he was so at the beginning of the season, and the fan base was getting a little bit impatient where they're saying, hey, you can start fucking barking a little bit based on this play. And then we saw it. Remember in that Toronto game when he finally just the wires crossed and he snapped? It seemed like they had a great run towards after playoffs and then towards the end of the year in order to clinch, but they're just not quite there. And I don't like that bullshit that they're trying to kick up nonstop. I get why they're doing it. It seems to be at the end of the game like that. No, fuck off.
Sorry,
power play.
Fuck, that was so needed.
But no personnel, and I'm ready to write their obituary.
Yeah, I think we all are. Actually, we got to talk about the Marchand quote. I don't know if you guys saw the clip after the previous game. Tkachuk was chirping with Nosek, and the microphones were picking up some, NHL caliber chirps, stuff that a lot of people didn't expect to hear or that they don't know that goes on.
The family stuff. And you know what? Usually, Biz, when I played, there's always been stuff brought up about guys, girls.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's certain guys who chirp who cross the line. I mean, obviously we know that Sean Avery is probably one of the most notorious ones. He even did so like legit in a media scrum. But yeah, some guys cross the line, and it's like I wasn't one of those guys that used to go there, but with all these mics around, Whit, sometimes it picks it up.
So I'm just saying, like, things are said on the ice. Yeah, they're vicious things. In the playoffs, it gets even more intense. And we're not saying anything's true or anything, but people say some crazy shit on the ice. Now, the reason we bring it up is because they asked Marchand about it, and I think he pretty much no commented what was being said, but he did bring up the fact that those microphones are a little bullshit in terms of what's getting out there to the public. And I think it's a pretty valid argument where you're getting some pretty cool in-depth audio and video of what's actually happening on the ice, but like I said, the stuff that's said shouldn't be getting out to the public. So it's kind of a catch-22 in the fact that people want to get in depth and hear these things, but players are like, that shouldn't be out there. Like, and I think he brought up the PA in the NHL, right? All right.
Yeah, I got it right here from Matt Porter at the Globe. Marchand asked about Tkachuk's previous comments crossing the line, spins it the other way. Marchand said, "I think the NHL and the media outlets have crossed the line to allow these mics." He called it, quote, very disrespectful, end quote, to the NHL-NHLPA agreement. And he wouldn't say if Tkachuk crossed the line. Of course, I'm sure Marchand's probably crossed the line or two in his day. Boys, at the end of the day, it's a workplace issue. It's workplace banter in their environment. Like, it might offend other people, but that's their workplace. That's what people say. And, people don't have to like it. And, they were getting on Marchand, oh, he said that, and then he interviewed with a woman after. It's like, all right, settle down. Like, I mean, a lot of women cover the league. They know how these guys talk. It's, it can be uncouth at times, but I think people are a little bit over the top about it, but yeah, they may want to reconsider where the mics are, who wears them, and whether this stuff gets picked up. Well, it
also in some cases causes problems too. Like, remember a couple of years ago, or it might even been last year, when Riley was telling his teammate, rag it. And then they all of a sudden try to kick up dust that he said, he dropped the F-bomb. So I guess it's cool because you get the sound effects of the hits and all that stuff, but you got to end up protecting the players, and that's just the way that I look at it. I don't know. And RA, we also have to bring up the fact that like we can't sweep this under the rug.
No.
You were obviously pissed off that Bergeron played
Yep.
game 82, and rightfully so from a fan perspective. Is you're like, this is a nothing burger game. They're already locked up the best record in NHL history, and I'll throw it over to you to what your comments were and then what you ended up finding out.
I was saying the same thing. So it wasn't just RA. You had a tweet
Okay.
that actually was going a little viral, and that's what.
And it was obviously, I know, fucking subtext and nuance on Twitter, they don't really work, but it was more of a joke with, like, when they rest these guys for trades, like they sit down for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and it's like, for what? This guy's got to go and be a seventh defenseman. Meanwhile, this guy, he's maybe his last best chance to win the cup, but he probably should be sitting, and he doesn't sit. I was kind of making a joke, and I'm a fan. I was pissed that he got hurt in the last game. I didn't know his dad had cancer. Nobody knew his dad had cancer, that he wanted to play that game in Montreal in front of his dad. And I even made the joke, he didn't like the Canadians. He was a Deeks fan growing up. I wrote jokingly, sorry, Patrice, hurt people, like at 5:08, and then at 5:39, Dominic Tiano, who covers the Bruins, come out with that information. Obviously, he was provided to him, I would say, that his dad has cancer and he wanted to play that game in Montreal. And fuck, man, it's like, I didn't know that. I mean, if I knew that and said it, I'm an asshole. But I was, a fan. I made a comment, sort of joking about the whole, load management thing. And then it comes out, okay, his father was sick. It's like, oh, shit, man, I fucking didn't know that. I wouldn't have said it. But, I mean,
I had a feeling, and I was saying the same thing. I just couldn't believe he played. And I did guess that it was just going to be his last game in Montreal, that he plans on retiring, and that was his last game in Montreal. And that's why I was still dogging it. Like, who cares? You're gonna win the Stanley Cup. I had no idea his dad's battling cancer, and he wanted to see him play live, and he had a ton of family members there. So, total my bad on that one. But, I mean, I never would have said any of that stuff had I known that. It's his right to play any game he wants to. So when it's something like that goes into it, you're talking a totally different story. It's just really bad luck.
Come on, even fans who would have tried to dunk on you about not knowing that, you can't tell me at home they're fucking getting mad that he would have been playing game 82 and getting injured before the run. Give me a break.
No, they're non-Bruins fans, I think, for the most part.
I don't think anybody with a rational brain holds it against you guys not knowing that information. So that pretty much wraps up Bruins, and Florida's in one right now, boys.
They sure are. Let's move to Pasha's Battle of the Hudson, the Rangers Devils. People thought the Rangers were going to run away with this, but Saturday, Lindy Ruff, he bounced his Czech goalie, Vitek Vanacek, from the crease and pulled in, what's his name, the Swiss rookie, Akira Schmid, his first playoff start. Kid stopped 35 out of 36 shots. The Devils win 2-1 in OT, get right back in the series. Chris Kreider, we got to talk about this kid. He's been unreal. Fifth goal already in the playoffs, but Jack Hughes, he kind of come alive the last game. What was your take on this game? Does Devils continue to make this series, or the Rangers beat them next game? Is this a series now that it's 2-1 or not?
Oh, it's a series, and Schmid was a difference maker, right? He played phenomenal, and Vanacek was not good. Those first 2 games, he was bad. Pasha's so lucky that they won that game, because had they been down 3-0, I'll still say it. It's one of my favorite storylines in Chiclets history is Pasha, the legend behind the sandbagger. This guy just puts out hit after hit, and he steps his little toe into the content game and probably got, as Big Cat put it, butt fucked by the internet harder than I've ever seen anyone get crushed before. I was on my couch crying, laughing as game 2 was happening. I'm like, this idiot. Patrick Kane scores one of the nastiest goals of the playoffs, outskating Jesper Bratt, and Pasha sitting there saying he's a liability who can't move his legs. It was just everything, every single thing he said. The opposite was happening. I'm like, this loser. I said a true Devils fan I said David Putty from Seinfeld should drag his ass to northern British Columbia and just send him packing with no internet and no television, because he embarrassed the entire organization. But he answered. His team answered game 3, and he came out and he said right after game 2, I think in outside the arena, made a video where he didn't even address the Kane comments as he was getting torched by the internet community. He said, we got to put in Schmid. So, I mean, obviously kind of a choice that I think a lot of Devils fans were saying, but that guy answered the bell. And I just think the Rangers, though, I think the Rangers are so good. I think no matter what, they're going to the conference final. I could see him winning the cup. Hamilton with a sick wrister on that goal. He got it. He should have. I thought he was going to shoot it right away. I would have and wouldn't have scored. He waited that split second, just picked the corner. A beauty of a winner. Great pass by Jesper Bratt on that play. But I still think the Rangers are just too much. Like, the Rangers out-crushed them for 2 games and then easily could have won Game 3. It went to OT. Like, in my mind, there's no chance the Rangers don't win that series.
Well, Shesterkin's buzzing right now, so that's a problem to begin with. But the way that the Rangers D are playing, and you got Fox, who's on a different planet. His mental game, like the plays that he makes and what he sees, like the roll-up play where Tarasenko scored that goal, where he just takes the D. I would say he's just as good at walking the blue line as Heiskanen, as Klingberg, as Makar. 6 assists right now in playoffs, and he sets up everything on that power play that's been lethal. The problem for New Jersey is they weren't making any adjustments in the first. Come on. Yes. So we got 3-2. We got 3-2 Kings over Edmonton now.
And I think Edmonton might have just got lucky. I think they might. I want to see it again. They could have had a penalty on this play, but I'm not. They deserve a call. We'll get to them later. Sorry, Biz. Go ahead. Fox is a machine.
Fox is a machine, but then it's the other 5 guys. They're not letting anything to the inside. They're unbelievable off the rush. They're playing physical, sticks in lanes. I've been very impressed with that Mikkola. I mean, Keandre Miller, probably the best two-way defenseman on the team, the way that he's able to play D and then also provide offense. So overall, with what they got going, the responsibility of the kid line, and with Tarasenko and Kane bringing everything that we expected, yeah, they look dangerous. But finally, Timo Meier, I would still say he's been pretty quiet. Jesper Bratt needed to make a play because he was invisible in the first 2 games. Palat, he ends up getting assists, but still very quiet considering he's got that experience that he has. And then you mentioned Dougie Hamilton. He hadn't really done much, so he's a guy that they look to provide offense in the regular season. 20 tucks, one of the most offensive defensemen in the league. So overall, horrible celly by him, though, on that OT goal. Just embarrassing.
What was that?
He went straight emo, children of the corn, didn't want to sully with the teammate. I think his remote. What do the kids say when the remote control shuts off, or the guy's arms go down and he just kind of continues to skate and he's expressionless?
Controller died.
The controller died on him. That's the only way to explain it. That's what the kids say. But nonetheless, they're back in the series, and I will say, Pasha, as a friend of yours, I did a wellness check on him, by the way. I wouldn't be posting many of those frontal videos anymore from your iPhone because it does your forehead, or 5-head as I like to call it, no justice.
I got one of those too, but I had to
He's
laugh.
The new Stephen A. Smith.
One of the comments was on one of his videos, your hairline's a liability. I've gotten those too, Pasha. You're getting crushed.
Guy, king of the hill.
Oh my! Hey, because you don't know, right? It's his first real experience dipping his toe in by giving a hot take and experiencing what the backlash of the internet can bring. I called him. I said, "Buddy, how you doing?" He goes, "I'm licking my wounds a little bit, but overall doing all right." I said, I had the bees missing playoffs, buddy. I've been hearing it too. I got Butch Gorn fucking sending leaners on my door here with the old turds in them, floating in my room when I open the door.
Shit. Hey, Biz, back to Dougie for a second. He now holds the team record for the franchise. His 23rd goal of the season, regular season and playoffs included. No Devils ever had 23 in a season, including the playoffs. Also, he's just the second defenseman in franchise history, going back to Kansas City and Colorado, to score a playoff OT goal. The only other guy in franchise history, almost 50 years, Brian Rafalski back in 2001. It's kind of crazy. I mean, team around 50 years, they've only had 2 defensemen score a fucking playoff overtime goal.
No shit. Well, yeah. It's because they used to play their old system, man. The defenseman would stay at the red line. They wouldn't even come in the offensive zone. I still believe, though, that they should insert Luke Hughes. No offense to this ball kid. It ain't like he's got this crazy amount of experience. I get that he brings a different dynamic, but we saw what he could bring in college hockey, and I know you said, oh, that's not the same thing. Well, look what Faber and Nyes are doing. They're inserting those young legs and that young juice into the lineup, and then he scored the fucking overtime winner in Game 82 of the season, assisted by his brother. And going back to Jack Hughes, the growth that he's shown too with all these press conferences, just letting it fly and really not holding back and showing raw emotion, it's huge, man. He's a league superstar. I felt that he might have been a little bit timid before, too timid, but now that he's doing what he's doing on the ice and then being the guy where he's willing to answer the cameras after games, after every loss or win, I fucking tip my cap to the kid, man. He's showing tremendous growth.
Yeah, and I think you can disagree with me on this one. I think it might have helped him getting on the road, right? You have this amazing season. You're at home. Play the clip of him after game 2.
Yeah, we got whacked 2 games in a row, so last thing I want to do is stand and talk in front of you guys.
So we got whacked. He's like, I don't want to talk to you guys. We just got whacked 2 games in a row. But getting on the road, he's scored some sick goals in MSG before, right? That probably felt good. And then that was an unreal snipe he had in game 3. So Tampa, Toronto, and New York, New Jersey tonight, as you're listening, is big time. I can't wait for these 2.
What's your guys' feeling? Because I saw a couple comments. I didn't see the hairline's a liability one. That's 10 out of 10 funny. What do you make of him being such a hardcore fan yet refusing to wear merch?
No, I was actually disgusted at most of the chirps online. People are saying, "Oh, dude doesn't even have a jersey on." I hate to break it to you guys, like, if you're an adult, you probably shouldn't be wearing a jersey. Like, maybe that's an unpopular take, but I don't know. Like, he had a hat on. He had a Black Devils hat on. I don't know if maybe he didn't wear it at MSG because they got whacked the first 2, but the first night the first 2 games he looked fine. He had a Devils hat on. Like, you don't need to rock a signed jersey by your favorite player if you're 39 years old. Like, that's just not a necessity. Am I wrong?
I agree. I've never been a huge jersey guy, even when I was younger. I mean, I have a couple, like, more or less in the closet. But, yeah, I was never a jersey to the game guy. I probably did it once or twice. But, I mean, I'm not going to knock guys who do. But, yeah, I don't think you're less of a fan because you don't own a fucking jersey or you wear one. Or don't wear one.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. Like, there's no chance you could say somebody cares any less than you because they're not wearing, like, the foam finger at the game.
And let's be honest. I mean, it's Saturday night. It's New York City. We all know Pasha. He's a single
he's trying
guy.
to get his dick wet.
Yeah,
he's trying to get his dick wet.
He's trying to sneak into some club and tell some girl he's like a billionaire with his own jet.
He is.
True.
Saying he's Jack
I guess
Hughes'
he's just
agent.
telling the truth.
Jack and Luke's agent.
Yeah, having the Christmas tree colored Gomez shirt on probably kills your fucking chances of getting a little fucking ass out there once in a while. Biz, so how many more games do you think this series has left anyways? Do you think Jersey takes a couple more?
I believe I said Rangers in 5, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm very confident in all my predictions. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, you had the Islanders in 7. You don't think that was my one reverse mush? I'm even wearing the Borelli shirt to mush those guys. I said to Butch Goring on Twitter, I said, with that forecheck and how they fucking pressure the puck, you'll be lucky if you last 5, Butchie boy.
And you didn't even bring up the power play.
Oh,
should we go to that series already?
What power play? They should start negating them.
Oh, my God.
Oh, the Islanders, Carolina? Yeah, we could jump right to that one right now.
Well, to be fair, in Game 3, they did finally capitalize with Palmieri in front by just simplifying. But one of the worst playoff performances as far as power play is concerned I've ever seen. They are just awful, stagnant. They don't even move the puck fast, and they're just standing there.
Before we continue, folks, you know that we've been part of the Chevy EV family. But we've got big news, great news. You've seen it before. The first ever all-electric Silverado is the official Barstool most valuable truck. We got the chance to see this thing and experience it. It's a complete game changer. It's available 400-mile range, GM estimated, on a full charge. Over 10 feet of length in the bed with the multi-flex tailgate combined with the multi-flex midgate. Multi-flex is just, when you got a tailgate and a midgate with multi-flex, you're winning. There's a large 17-inch diagonal display screen. Everyone wants that big screen out front when you're driving. You see your music playing. You see maybe where you're wanting to go on Waze or one of those, things I'm talking about. Google Maps. 17 inches ain't bad. It could tow up to 1,000 pounds of max towing. It goes 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds with the wow mode. Whip it out Wednesday wow mode. Thing gets humming 4.5 seconds. And up to an impressive 785 foot-pounds of torque. Torque is another valuable word when it comes to trucks. Head over to Chevy.com to learn more right now. Bo Horvat next year starts 8 years, 8.5. Where is he? It's like he's got nothing going.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he had 31 in Vancouver, and then what does he have, 7 with the Islanders? It's just, maybe it's that system, but you need your top guys going. I mean, Carolina's missing 3 of their best forwards, and they're still just running over the Islanders. But this is a big but. The Islanders are with the Wild fans, and the Oilers fans, they're getting hosed by the refs. Hosed. We saw what happened in Game 2 with that Mayfield high stick. We discussed that last episode. Well, they come out. They have a great effort in Game 3. That was a lock. I think Merles gave that one out. That was a solid bet. I like the Islanders in that game. But then today, I mean, they ended up getting their asses kicked. But did you guys see the goaltender interference call on Parisi?
There's two in the first period that were atrocious.
Bruta.
The guy gets buried into the goalie and gets a penalty. And Carolina scored, didn't they? Maybe they didn't, actually. Don't fact check me on that one. It doesn't even matter because it's just Islanders fans have a legit grief going on. I really do think that Carolina has played better than them, so I guess in the end it doesn't matter, but they've also gotten some pretty tough breaks from the officiating.
Today, just to get the people up to speed, Game 4, Carolina won 5-2. Actually, a pretty cool scene, Biz. Mackenzie McEachern, 29 years old, St. Louis drafted him back in 2012. Scored his first NHL playoff goal today, 29 years old, added his first assist as well. I thought that was a really cool story. He spent the season with AHL Chicago, wasn't even on an NHL team this season because of all the injuries they had. He was with the Black Aces, and I don't know, I thought that was a nice little thing to fucking share with the folks.
But it's next man up for them. I was a little bit nervous, and you just mentioned it, Whit, with having 3 of their top 6 guys out, like the lack of offense. I actually looked at the Islanders lineup as far as forwards, and I thought that they looked deeper. Just names on paper. Horvat, he finally ended up scoring in the third period, but he hadn't had a point in the first 11 periods of the series. So just really invisible. I mean, the other awful call, too, you're thinking of was when it was on Barzell, when he got cross-checked by Burns, and he goes into the wall, and they called it a coincidental where they called him for a dive. So they were getting the raw end of the deal. Do I feel bad for him? No. Because I don't want to watch their boring asses anymore. I want them gone in 5 because they're just pathetic. They suffocate the offense, and that might be a reason why Bo Horvat's not clicking. Because I ended up reaching out to Rick Tocchet, and I was like, what are you seeing on their power play? It's horrendous, and why isn't Horvat going? He goes, well, Biz, he was only here for 3 games while I was here, but from watching all the tape, he was very effective as the bumper guy in the middle of the ice, and he said that Islanders don't really utilize that much, where they seem to just really rely on Matt Barzell, not only in zone, but on zone entries. So you saw it there in Game 3 as well, where he did the zone entry. He ended up getting his pocket picked, and then Brock Nelson ended up flat-footed, where they went back the other way, and Carolina scored 2-on-1 shorthanded. Did they win that game and finally end up capitalizing on the power play? Sure. But aside from that, it's just completely killed all their momentum. They've got no help from the officials. And not only with them suffocating their own offense, they just don't defend and check like they did under Trotz. Nowhere near it. I was expecting Carolina to the Spider-Man meme? I was expecting that in this series where they both defend and forecheck really well. But the way that Carolina pressures the puck, it doesn't matter who you put in the lineup. Because the mentality of Rob Brind'Amour and the way that the organization plays, it's every guy, 5-man unit, constantly pressuring the puck, and there's no delays. That next guy, the first guy pressuring the puck, if that Islanders player makes the play, that next guy has another guy breathing down his neck because they work as a 5-man unit. And that's why every time you see Islanders in the offensive zone, they can't get any type of sustained pressure. They close the playoff and they break out, and it's right back to the other end. And just as much as they pressure the puck in the defensive zone, they're doing it on the forecheck. And when they gain control, they work their fucking bags off along the wall and they get it done. And then when you give them opportunities on the power play, what do? They capitalize, even with their 3 best fucking players out offensively. Excuse me, not 3 best, because Aho's pretty fucking good, but 2 of their best goal scorers in Pacioretty and Svechnikov. But hey, once again, with injury comes opportunity. Who had a fucking stellar game? That Jarvis. He's a crafty player, man. That play that he made, that puck hits his chest and he goes right down and he makes that play quick. Just a fucking gamer. So Carolina, I'm sorry that you feel that I disrespected you by picking the Islanders. That was a classic reverse mush. Credit to you guys for battling through these injuries and not allowing it to be an excuse. Carolina in 5.
Yeah, I had Carolina in this series, and unfortunately, I think the Rangers are gonna might crush them. And it's just with those 3 guys out. Once you keep going, it's gonna get harder and harder. I mean, the Islanders just have no scoring ability. It is just.
You know who their best line offensively has been consistently? The identity line. Their 4th line. They were the only reason that they won that game 3.
The Islanders set up playoff record. I don't know if you know that game, too. 4 goals in 2 minutes and 18 seconds. They ended up getting a miracle over in that game. But we got to give Scott Mayfield a shout-out. Did you see that diving empty netter he scored from about 185 feet away? He got kind of tripped, dove, whacked the puck, hit the empty netter. I thought, it was probably the best of the year, maybe up there with
Any more
Ovechkin's.
Participation ribbons you want to give out for the Islanders, RA?
Buddy, it was a fucking pretty awesome,
I'm just asking.
Awesome goal. No,
let's
see.
How about
Borelli's has unbelievable
Natchez
food.
going in the bench, Biz? You see that?
That too.
That was funny.
Yeah,
and then he sucker punched Nelson.
Nelson, yeah, because his stick broke somewhere in there. Either of you guys ever get dumped on a bench like that at any time?
I did go on a bench one time. Fuck, where was it?
I was always
onto
on the
my
bench.
stick. They were. I think I got.
I
Like,
never
hit into
left
3 benches. I got hit into benches Biz was sitting on.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been hit into the opposing team's bench.
I'm not sure if you mentioned Toivo Teravainen. He got his hand broke from Scott Mayfield at game 2 as well. He's out for the year. Rod Brind'Amour, I'm not sure if you saw his presser. He seemed pretty pissed off about it. It's 3rd prominent player he's lost, but I don't think keep marching on. We'll see what happens with them.
I think that one's over next game though, Biz.
100%. I pray. I'll be going at Butchie online. I've been saving a few. I got a few in my draft folder for the 4-time Stanley Cup winner. That's the only place I can get him. He's got me everywhere else.
I don't know if you heard about this news. Kind of weird. Valerie Nichushkin on Colorado. He left the team for personal reasons. Very early, it was reported Sunday morning. Jared Bednar said, I have no idea if it's a long-term situation. It's very atypical to happen during the playoffs. I mean, it's even weird during the season, but you don't see it during the playoffs. He played first 2 games, had 1 goal. So, I mean, hopefully everything's all right with the guy. You hate to see anything like this happen.
I hope everything's all right, RA, but it doesn't fucking matter. All they need is a goalie who's competent, and the way that McKinnon's playing right now, Rantanen and Makar, it's fucking nuts.
That McKinnon goal.
A healthy McKinnon, I'm going to say this might be a stretch. If I could build the perfect hockey player, it would be Nathan McKinnon. I think playoff-wise, he is the best hockey player on the planet. It is fucking insane. Did you see him at the end of the game going after guys?
Yeah, because he's got that anger, man.
He's got that dog in him, man. And I call him and Makar the juke gods. Ace was calling them the bone collectors. They must have juked 8 guys in that game. Donato was sitting there. I think Donato, it looked like he had no fucking blades in his skates the way that he did that. And right before that McKinnon scored that and walked him, he did that little 360 move right before that. What they're fucking doing right now, and I don't even think Makar's fully healthy, and he's doing this. So between the 3 of them, it's such an amazing contrast in, you have this Seattle team who I don't think we gave enough credit coming into the season, and then even coming into playoffs, where they just have these very, very good, well-rounded players who are really good at everything, and they've gelled together as a group, and they have this chip on their shoulders because they've been these outcasts, and some of them have been let up for expansion. Fuck the kid. Who's the kid who came over from Nashville? They gave him away from free, and he's been awesome for them. Tolvanen, right? McCann was a throwaway. He scored 40 fucking goals. Now they got him in a 5x5 deal, which is a bargain if you're asking me. And then all of a sudden, Grubauer, he's playing well, but it just doesn't matter. When you have game breakers like Makar, McKinnon, and Rantanen, and they're playing to the level that they're playing, they're unfucking beatable. They're unbeatable. What we're watching right now, between these 3, fucking put 3 more of me on the ice with those guys, and we can get the job done. Maybe not.
No,
maybe not.
Let's
pump
take
the brakes.
that.
I'll pump the brakes.
Let's ride that one back a little bit. I'll tell you though, Colorado's got the champion mindset too. Of they're down 2-0 in game 2 at home, and boom, they came roaring back and got that win, and then just hit full steam in game 3. But the the changing point of the series, the TSN turning point. Brandon Tanev makes it 2-0 and starts blowing kisses to the crowd.
The cuckmaster. The cuckmaster. No, he's cucking the Avalanche crowd's wives, man. That's why they snapped.
Dude, they didn't want to let some Seattle Kraken take some jersey wearing season ticket holder Avalanches fan woman away from them.
She sucked them off through the camera hole. You didn't see that?
No, it was bad. It was bad. I heard about it.
The husband was filming it, though. I think he kind of enjoyed it. You know, they're definitely they're the ones that are hanging around for autographs where they're driving out in the parking lot after the game.
They're like, "Can I please watch you?" So Tanev blew the kisses, and since then, Colorado, you ain't stealing any of our woman in the Mile High City. No chance.
Very cool to see that building rocking for their first ever playoff game. Schwartzy ends up scoring the first playoff goal in the building's history. Very cool to see him come back though and tie it up with those 2 goals in 19 seconds. Beniers gets his first ever NHL playoff goal as well. But as I said, I think I picked Colorado in 5 games this series. If those 3 studs are playing the way that they're playing, I just don't see a way that Seattle can beat them.
Yeah, Nate's in fucking Nate mode right now. Biz, it was the first Stanley Cup playoff game in Seattle in 104 years. Of course, Seattle Metropolitans won a Stanley Cup way back in the day. Also, Nate Dogg, just the second player in franchise history with at least 10 multi-goal games in the playoffs. Mr. Sakic, of course, is the other one. So, yeah, I don't think Seattle's going to be able to keep up with these boys either way. Let's see.
Did you see Sprong eat shit on that odd man rush too? That's the worst, isn't it? When you just go ass over tea kettle. I see that you're dialed into this game.
The Oilers are going to the power play, down 1 goal with 50 seconds left in the second. It's turning back around for the refs.
Oh my God, that's a horrible call.
Fiala literally just made a perfect hit on Draisaitl and got a penalty.
That's worse than the Foligno call.
That was one of the worst calls of the playoffs as we're recording. Wait till you see this, where everyone probably has seen it listening right now. Because the Oilers, are scoring on this power play. And we got fresh ice even if we don't get it done in the end of the second. All right, sorry. Moving ahead. Moving back, Seattle, congrats on right now competing way harder than I thought they could. But I think that one is probably going to end in maybe 5, probably 6. Seattle might get the next game at home, Biz, you think?
I would say I'm sticking with Colorado the way those 3 are playing. And then just as I went earlier in the podcast, I talked about these crucial face-off wins. Colorado has 2 big goals off those 1 face-offs in the offensive zone. One is that bumper play when the face-off is on the right side of the ice to the goaltender. Like if you're looking at Seattle's goal and you're on the right side, they usually have Bo Byram, who's the D closest to the wall, and they try to snap it back to him, and he just gives that little bumper to Makar, who's a righty, and it just goes right in his wheelhouse. So it's nearly impossible to defend. And then the other one that they scored on was just a direct 1 draw right back to Makar, and then he stepped into it. So those are coming up huge, man, and they're very impressive. And I agree with you. Heart of a champion. They were down 2-0 and battled back, and now it seems like they're in full control of that series.
Doesn't that Hackstall look?
Oh, fucking rights.
That's such a bullshit fucking call. And it's Draisaitl who scores it. This is a fucking joke.
Awful call. But
why don't we just get to Edmonton? Let's go right to Edmonton right now. It's
because
3-3
we got to wait
now.
till the end of this game. We have to wait till the end of this game.
Fuck.
And I know. We have to wait till the end of this game.
Well, who else do we got to talk about? Winnipeg, Vegas?
Game 4 is tonight, 9:30. But Winnipeg, man, what a fucking comeback they made. They were down 4-1. Furious third period comeback goals from Niederreiter, Scheifele, Lowry with 22 seconds left. They force OT. But then in overtime, Michael Amadio on Vegas, he's the 5th player in the last 25 years to score his first playoff goal in double OT or later. Now that play, Dylan Sandberg, the defenseman for Winnipeg,
got to go up the wall. Got to go up the wall. That's what I was
going to ask. Did he make a mistake there, or was it bad luck, or what was the deal there?
Kyle Connor's on that wall, right, and he didn't have anybody breathing down his neck. Yeah, would it have been a good play to put it right on his stick so he can go right up ice in transition? Yeah, it would have been. But you're in overtime, and then you got that forecheck that's been lethal the last 2 games, and you have Barbashev breathing down your neck. Well, he tries to make a tape-to-tape pass instead of just making the simple play going up the wall. You could see his frustration afterward. He was ready to break his stick. I don't know who his defense partner was, but it was pretty cool to see him grab him and be like, hey, buddy, listen, that's 1 game. It's 1 mistake. Put it behind you. Did you see that motion, Whit? that he gave to his teammate. Just a nice gesture, man, because you feel like you're on an island, the biggest loser in the world when you make a play like that. But going back, so game 1, Winnipeg held Vegas to 17 shots, only 2 in the third period. That's a fucking joke. Eichel didn't look good. He was -1, getting the cobwebs out. Same with Stone, coming back from injury, first game back, played over 20 minutes. We actually had the opportunity on the TNT broadcast to talk to Alex Pietrangelo. And I said, listen, they limited you and really put a wet blanket in your offense. What needs to change? He goes, well, 2 things. He goes, our D need to get more involved. Their highest goal scorer this year, points-wise, was Eichel, 65 points. So they don't have anybody who can just take control like a McKinnon or a McDavid. They need to get it done by committee. And part of that committee is the right side of their defense, Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore. And they have that confidence to jump in the rush and make those offensive plays because on the left side they have McNabb and Martinez. So they're holding the fort, and they're just the shot blockers, which we'll get to that because they were fucking maniacs in game 3. But he said, we got to get more involved offensively there, and one thing that definitely needs to change, we need to establish our forecheck. That's what made it successful all year long, and what do? They fucking come out guns a-blazing, and when I mean all hands on deck, it's all hands on deck. Chandler Stevenson looks fucking unbelievable. Incredible. He had that opening goal in game 3 to get them going, and that propelled them to where they got on a power play. He makes that setup to Eichel for his second of the series, and then Eichel ends up getting his second power play goal of that game in Winnipeg. But just overall in that second game going back home to Vegas, they completely dominated, and they looked like a different team, and it was nice to see Eichel get that goal to really take the monkey off his back as far as playoff performing. Going to that game in Winnipeg, the whiteout, unbelievable. The scene outside, and as much as I love Toronto, that whiteout scene outside is the coolest thing. What'd you say?
It looks amazing.
It looks unreal. Right down that street, it looks so big and lush, and all these fucking people going crazy. And you know they were buckled from probably 6 a.m. because it was an afternoon game. But right from puck drop, it was Kolesar in on that forecheck, gets the big hit, gets in the fight. That kind of got them revved up. And then, as I mentioned, Chandler Stevenson, what a great play through the neutral zone to get that speed. One thing that I wasn't impressed with and why I thought Winnipeg was getting dominated early on was their gaps looked like shit. On that first goal, Chandler Stevenson, he was at the red line when he had the puck. It looked like Schmidt was at the blue line. So he goes in, uses Schmidt as a screen, and fucking puts it top G's. But then they were undisciplined, took some stupid penalties. Vegas power play took over, and at that point it was 4-1 Wit. And hey, credit to them for the comeback.
The comeback was great. It's such a heartbreaking way to lose. To just be down 4-1, the building's silent after Kolesar scores to make it 4-1, and then all of a sudden you put in all this energy and you make it all the way back, tie it up. Lowry, man, I didn't know enough about his game. I don't see Winnipeg play enough.
Beast.
I was actually surprised. I don't remember again who was doing the play-by-play, but when they were bringing him up and what game it was said, but they said future captain, the next captain of the Winnipeg Jets. I hadn't really thought about that, but that guy is built for the playoffs. I keep saying that about so many different players, but you see the difference makers that maybe in the regular season their game is solid, but until it all ramps up, that's when you see like their true how much they mean. And so that guy tying it up late, and that team going through that to mount that comeback only to lose, it's just like, oh, it's heartbreaking. And now you gotta think that the Jets, I mean, they gotta get the next one, right? It's just,
well, buddy, how about that loss of Morrissey?
That's the next thing. That's just and they've already said he's out for the series, right?
Done for the series.
Rest of the first round, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes me think it's just going to be too much to climb back from. Mark Stone and the excitement on goals is pretty crazy to watch.
2 goals on 420.
That was a Chiclets Game Notes Daily. One of the viewers that Grinelli talked about said, "Hey, it's 420. Bet Stone," and he gets 2. So, for some reason, I don't know why. I haven't been as into this series as some of the other ones. Oh. That comeback was amazing, so that kind of got me more into it. But the beginning of that game was kind of a little boring. maybe just the crowd getting taken out of it was kind of affecting me as a viewer, but
Well, did
Vegas
you see?
is-
Did you
Sorry,
see
go ahead.
Colasar score that goal off the Jack Eichel pass off the pads, and then have the staring contest with the fan? So we have Tanev cucking a guy's wife, and then we have a staring contest going down in the middle of a game, and I think that's what propelled them. That or maybe the adjustments that Bonus made, because Scheifele was non-existent. Right, they had that top line of the big boys, and he was non-existent. Who's it? Dubois, Kyle Connor, and Scheifele hadn't done much. So in that third period, he bumped him down to the second line, and him and Wheeler had some chemistry going. And then sure enough, Scheifele ends up getting one right after he turned it over on the power play, and the crowd's like, "Oh fuck, give me a break." He ends up going back down and ends up scoring that goal and using the defenseman as a screen. So it was a pretty sick comeback. Sucks to see them lose that one, but credit to Vegas, man.
I'm looking for the team tweet right here. They made a joke too about stoned on 420. Something about like getting stoned on 420 because something they wouldn't have done 3 years ago. Now it's fucking legal everywhere, and every housewife's on edibles. So
guys, one sec here. Before this show keeps going, I got to talk to you about Top Golf. Best in the business. If you don't consider yourself a golfer, great, no problem. Anyone could come to Top Golf and enjoy themselves. We had a blast recently going to a Top Golf. The facilities were state-of-the-art. The staff was helpful and friendly, not to mention the half-price Tuesday deal. We golfed, ate, and filled up an entire afternoon, and it wasn't even half-price Tuesday. Imagine if we came then and played twice as much. That's what Top Golf's all about. The food and beverage aspect is just a game changer as well. Since Top Golf hooks players up on Tuesday with half-price gameplay, you should definitely try their variety of food and drink items on the menu because you cannot play. You cannot hit a golf ball if you're hungry. Nothing is worse than golf on an empty stomach. You can't focus. You want to hit the ball straight, you need food to do that. Top Golf is all about play, but even then you have some rules that we need to tell you about. Half-price Tuesday appies applies to gameplay only. It isn't offered at every single venue, and it can't be doubled up with either offers or discounts. Full details can be found at Topgolf/Tuesday. It's golf. It's not golf. It's Top Golf. Pro tip, by the way, download the app and book ahead of time to come play around on Half Price Tuesday or any other day. Top Golf. That's where it's at.
Well, we've been updating the Oilers-Kings game all night, and Game 4 just ended, and wow, we got a best of 3 right now. The Oilers win 5-4 in OT. Zach Hyman calls game 10:39 into the extra session. The 8th OT game already at this playoffs. Whitdog, your Oilers won, best of 3. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm just ecstatic. I'm in shock, too. And any fan out there will tell you, when your team's in overtime in the playoffs, it's an indescribable feeling. It's like pins and needles. You're just sitting there waiting for your balls to just their balls are in your stomach. You're waiting for like the best feeling in the world that I just got, or you're just waiting for heartbreak. And for us, we were done. I can't say enough about the LA Kings as a hockey team.
Oh, weird. Oh, okay, shocker.
Never, ever, ever did I dog them, Biz. You said, are you scared? I go, I'm not scared of anyone. But Jesus, maybe if I knew actually how well-rounded of a team they had, I would have been scared. So maybe I could go back on that statement. Maybe you were right for once. But they come at you in waves. Arvidsson, this guy, when did he become one of the best players in the league? Kopitar hasn't slowed down. Deneau is just always in the way defensively. Trevor Moore, it's amazing. Now, we deserve this one because the Oilers got hosed in Game 3. One of the many fuck jobs by the refs in this Stanley Cup playoff so far. And for people who don't know what happened, in overtime, the puck went up in the air, and there's videos of the puck climbing. It's still going up like a drive, like a good drive off of a big old tailor-made golf club, sailing up in the air. And then it hits Gabe Velarde's stick and drops down. High sticking, right? Nope. And they actually went and reviewed it after they scored the OT winner and said there was no conclusive evidence that hit his stick. I find that appalling. I find it shocking. And there's a blatant angle of the puck stopping, climbing in the air, and dropping down to the ground. And I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
Whit,
but
did you even know that was a rule that you could challenge that?
I did.
Okay. Because first of all, I didn't know that you could challenge that after the play. I thought that was something that the ref would have had to have called in the midst of the play going on. I thought they were originally calling it to see if it hit the mesh. Now, another thing too is McDavid had stopped playing because he saw it. He was on the ice and he saw that happen.
Pointing.
Some people say they can't really tell from the direction of the puck, but if you pay attention to his blade on the replay, you could see the blade move, and it's obvious. And coming from somebody who's rooting for the Kings, yes, I truly believe that the Oilers got hosed in that. That should have been called back, and it should have been continuous OT moving on.
The other part of that game is the other penalties that were called. So the penalty on Nugent Hopkins in overtime, I actually didn't complain or have not complained about that one because you just see now if you slash down on a stick and the stick breaks, it's a penalty. That is, I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's how the league calls it now. If you give a stick check and the stick breaks, which shouldn't be a penalty considering the sticks break all the time, like $500 sticks just gone, bang, bang, boom, smashed, cracked, but penalty, okay? Earlier in the game, the Desharnais penalty on Dursey and the Kings and how good their team is, they're embellishers. Now, I saw Elliot Friedman and Biekska saying they actually didn't have an embellishment penalty this season, but this series, dude, it's been ridiculous. Desharnais pushes Dursey in the chest with his forearm, the most normal playoff post-whistle push. He flops against the glass, penalty. They score the second goal to go up 2-1. McDavid, 2 snipes on the power play. And Leon, and unnecessary, so I'm not saying he's not at fault because there's no need for it. You just took the lead 2-1, but he skates by Doughty and gives him maybe the biggest love tap I've ever seen in the shin pad, and the fucking ref calls it. Like, it's not a penalty, especially in the playoffs. No need to do it, so probably should have just skated to the pile to celebrate, but you can't put a team on the power play, which I think they ended up scoring. I think Kempe scored about 10 seconds later.
It was an unreal setup play, too.
I know.
So a lot of the times now, the power plays, you'll have the defenseman skate up ice, and usually one of the best forwards will lag back, and then you'll force the 2 forecheckers to back off closer to the blue line, and then you'll fire it back so that forward can now have the separation to have an easy zone entry. Now, I feel like Edmonton saw that coming, so maintain their positioning and try to stay up on the line. While LA knowing that with the set play, I want to say it was Arvidsson who ended up firing it off the far wall, and Kempe, with the wheels he had, just skates right into it, makes no mistake, has that half clapper, and ends up tying the game shortly thereafter. Now, the Leon retaliation was based on the fact.
What did you think on that, Biz? Give me honest. I'm
so
biased.
no, buddy. So I thought they got hosed on the overtime call, and I definitely think that was a love tap and shouldn't have been called. He was retaliating because he thought that Doughty's hit on McDavid was knee on knee. Now, keep in mind, Connor played through it, stayed out there on that power play, and ended up scoring his second power play of the night. I thought that the LA Kings had done a great job of adjusting where they're trying to take that seam pass to Draisaitl away as much as possible, but McDavid, being the genius hockey IQ that he has and how fucking much of a wizard he is, he ends up sneaking in, and then he scores on the glove side on the first one. Now, if you're that net front defenseman for the Kings, what you're told is you're supposed to take the far side of the net away so it helps Korpisalo cut the net in half. Well, they do that on the second one, and that's the one I'm talking, the second power play when McDavid was a little bit banged up. And then what does he do? I think it fucked with Korpisalo's head, that the fact that he beat him glove side. Then he ends up beating him blocker side. So exact same play as the flank guy coming down and how he's able to use his speed. But not only that, too, by McDavid, just to, like, as he pulls that in and elevates it as quick as he does, it doesn't matter if you're taking that seam pass away because he's a dual threat. He's going to fucking pass through those seams, or he's got that lethal shot. So overall, an incredible game. Definitely thought that the Oilers got hosed, but moving forward to Game 4, and by the way, Game 3, and really the whole series so far, maybe other than that second period, Korpisalo has been lights out. he is a fucking machine. His ability and his skating ability to go post to post and spread out and time all these crazy plays that the Oilers are doing. Cap off to him, and great job by Rob Blake going to solidify their goaltender among the rest of the team they have. Moving to Game 4 though, Whit,
Storylines going in.
I don't really want to hear about officiating anymore in this series. That call on Fiala was worse than the Foligno hit. He literally just holds his ground in the middle of the ice. He hits Draisaitl. He falls down, and then they give him a penalty, and they score on the ensuing power play. So I just don't really. And you talk about embellishment. I even thought the one in overtime was a little bit soft on Kempe.
What? On Bouchard?
Maybe a little bit. Hey,
I don't know.
Hey, okay, fine, whatever. I don't even need to argue.
Play.
I don't
what
even
do you mean it wasn't a power play?
No, I said he was on the power play, so he couldn't have been that hurt if he was playing on the power play.
No,
maybe at the end him grabbing the back, but the actual cross check, like you're going down on that cross check.
Okay, you know what? I can take an L on that one. I'm just saying the one on Draisaitl was bullshit. I just really don't want to hear about officiating from like a Oilers, we're getting hosed.
I'm willing to say, because of the Fiala call, that now, and especially with the series tied 2-2, no complaints from either side.
All right,
you both got gifts in this series. Maybe a couple more for the Kings. I mean, going into Game 4, it was 15-8 power plays. Like, for how Edmonton controlled the first 3 games, 15-8's a little nuts. But I'm with you. It's over. Both sides have a bitch now, and it's tied 2-2. And going into Game 4, the main storylines for me was Hyman, Kane, Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah.
And they all showed up. They all were way better. The goal by Kane to tie the game late, I think 3 minutes left. Keith Yandel did a great job breaking it down on TBS, TNT, whatever, before overtime. Ekholm made that play. And it might not look like that. It's a second assist that he deserves. It's not a Whit off the glass second assist. He's lugging it up ice. And because of that, Biz, Keith brought up when a defenseman's the one rushing it up ice, as the opposing defenseman, you can't gap up because you know the forwards could still be behind you. If it's a forward, you can really get up. You know no one's behind you. But as a defenseman doing that, you're backing up. He makes a quick, perfect dish, like a 5-foot pass to McDavid in full tilt, who just throws it over his left. And Kane, what a snipe. I mean, that thing was right where the crossbar meets the post. The perfect shot. You can't blame Korpisalo at all for that one. And then in overtime, Hyman. This is what's funny is as good as Korpisalo's been, that's a bad goal. I think
he was cheating on pass.
Yeah, it goes right through his arm, one that you got to stop. But he's been so good that it is hard to kind of fault him. But that's a goal that he'd want back. And I think Edzo said that, by the way. Also, shout out to Forsling and Edzo, and I think it was Sheriff Shane Knighty in between the benches. Hell of a game. Hell of a broadcast for those guys. Forsling's awesome. Seattle, I mean, I think, I don't know, I'm sure he was bummed to get let go in Carolina, but he's perfect. I really love how he does play-by-play. And Edzo's one of the GOATs. But so earlier in the game, for the Oilers to go down 3-0 and come back, I have been so hard on Campbell all year, but him coming into that game, and that save on Arvidsson in the third period, one of the saves of the playoffs so far.
Wow. That cost Merle's $5,000.
Yeah, Merle's had an Arvidsson goal in the third for 5 Gs. Obviously, he misses. I mean, that all I need to. If I knew that beforehand, I could have just shut my eyes and just. There was no chance he was scoring. But Campbell to show up with all the heat he's taken this year and play like that in relief was such a big time moment in their season. Like, you know, for a guy who's been beaten down, I'm just happy for him, right? Like, you deserve that with a long season and a market that expects a lot out of this free agent contract. He saved that entire game, and the Kings, they kind of took their foot off the gas. RA, you've said it before, 3-0 in the first period nowadays. It's like, all right.
Worst lead in hockey.
Yeah, it's like it's turned into the worst lead in hockey. And those Leon power play goals, one of them a gift we went over, but still 6 setups, so similar, both of them from in the slot. I think that the Oilers, that was like a season-defining win for them. And now you got 2 out of 3 series. You got 2 at home. You're going back. Now, the goaltending situation, I think I stand in the minority, and as much as Campbell saved that game, I would start Skinner.
Wow.
And part of it is, as I pump Campbell's tires, I think it's somewhat easier to just go in. You don't have time to think. When you're starting the night before, the whole day of, Skinner's been pretty solid. Like, he had a tough start to this game. Pull him out makes total sense, but I don't know. I feel like go back.
These are the difficult decisions as a coach.
100%.
Oh, man.
100%. But it's different coming into a game. Would you not agree with that at least?
Definitely. And what we can agree on, too, you mentioned a few of those names for Edmonton. Like, their secondhand scoring had not showed up. Going into Game 4, Edmonton was out shooting LA 98-63, 5-on-5, but the goals were 4 for 4. Like, they did four goals for each squad, 5-on-5. So their 5-on-5 scoring had not been very good. And 3 goals in 3 games in, 5-on-5, they hadn't scored a 5-on-5 goal without Draisaitl on the ice. And I believe going into the third period, 13 goals had been scored so far by the Edmonton Oilers, and Draisaitl had been on the ice for every single one of them. Like, he is just a maniac right now. I know we talk about McDavid, but Draisaitl, it seems like every time he's out there, he has the puck the entire fucking time. So
I know. He gets the puck in the D zone, and then he skates it up, and you can't get it away from him.
Yeah, so bad news for the LA Kings. It seems like the secondary scoring for the Edmonton Oilers has showed up. So now all of a sudden, it definitely becomes a series. So I really got nothing much else on that. And I mean, there was more tomfoolery going on between Doughty and Kane in Game 3, but it's going to be a heated battle. But as you said, it's nice to see you putting a little bit of respect on the Kings' name, because I think the winner of this series could easily go off to the Stanley Cup final.
I said at the Borelli's playoff preview, the winner of this series is going to the Cup final, and I believe it now more than ever. Obviously, Colorado's got something to say about that. But on the other end of the spectrum for the Oilers, Darnell Nurse, man, is struggling.
Yeah, he's struggling.
And he makes a lot of money, and like I was a highly paid defenseman taking heat in Edmonton, so I mean we weren't in the playoffs, so it's times 10 with that fan base, but he's out there for so many goals against. You know, the first goal by Velarde, he's facing the goalie, he's got his back to his man, he scores. You know, then he makes that play on the who scored the 4-3 goal. Who made it 4-3? Great little
for the
dish
Kings,
from
Roy.
So what happened on that play is Draisaitl fell down in the neutral zone. And that's obviously that's a bad break, but as a defenseman, once the puck's moved from the wall, Nurse is playing his guy, and he moves it to the middle. He goes up and he absolutely crushed someone. I don't forget who it was, but you don't need to do that because you're all just play it safe. 3-3 game in the third period. Just like there's no need to step up. He steps up, and with the Leon fall, it just left Roy wide open. Great move by him. So it's been kind of a tough goal for him. At the same end on defense,
even on that Moore goal in overtime, it just seems like he was in no man's land where he had his back to him. By the time it went in the net, it was just weird. Like it seemed like he was trying to block it, but wasn't in the great position to have stick on puck for that centering pass. I don't know. I agree with you. He's stuck out like a sore thumb. But then again, man, like who knows, right? You're going back home, and you know maybe they. Do you think there's no way they would healthy scratch him?
No. But he's just playing a lot. Ekholm's a monster, and Bouchard, that power play goal to make it 3-1, that got things going. He's got that rocket. He got a beautiful assist on the OT winner. He kind of curls behind the net, and he sees that. I don't know if LA was changing, but fires a great pass off the wall right to Hyman. He goes in and buries it. So it's going to be a wild next 3 games because it's going 7. I think we could all kind of agree on that. I would imagine Edmonton wins at home, and then LA wins at home, and we go back to Edmonton. But it's been such exciting hockey. Unfortunately, it's always the late game. So I'm sure there's a bunch of East Coast people that it's too late. Like we're up for it. They're my squad. This is our job. But you're missing out on some of the best hockey in the first round so far as these 2 teams. But yeah, shout out to LA. I mean, Doughty looks like Doughty from 2011.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
He's a fucking horse out there. How about that move he had in, I think it was the second period? Campbell made a great save. He fakes the slap shot and then walks somebody through their triangle. He's just like feeling it at both ends, and it's just great hockey. But we got a war on our hands, guys.
Ken Holland, the first free agent signed this summer when free agency opened was Jack Campbell. So Campbell making them look good coming in relief and helping them win that game.
The schedule's kind of quirky to it. I'm not sure if you looked at it. Game 5 Tuesday, 9:30 at Edmonton. Game 6 is until Saturday at LA. They don't have a time yet. So Tuesday, so they got
That's
Wednesday,
because
Thursday,
the
Friday.
Clippers and the Lakers
time.
are in playoffs right now, so they're just battling for the Staples Center.
But that's one of the long. I mean, you don't usually hear that long. 2 nights is even unusual. The playoffs. That's a long time. And then let's see, Game 7, if necessary, Monday, May 1st in Edmonton, time to be determined as well. That was the 8th overtime game already this playoff season. Probably one of the best games as well. Remember, we were on the PJ last year, Biz, from Denver to Edmonton.
Yeah, I booked it.
I just got a text from one of the guys on the plane for shouting out the Oilers. He's like, Oilers, baby. The dude, Ken. I don't know which guys you know on that. There was like 3 or 4 of them, but pretty funny. He just sent the text, but apparently not to you guys. One thing we didn't talk about with the Kings, Will Ferrell with the fucking checkerboard face paint.
He's completely invested into every LA team. He was at the Lakers game last night, Kings game today. He was at the Kings game 3 as well. Different face paint for both of the Kings performances.
I wouldn't have changed the face paint if I was him.
You think he cost them game 4?
Yeah, if you win, how are you changing up your face paint? By the way, like I chirp people in jerseys, but if you're Will Ferrell, you can do whatever you want. He had a white LA Kings starter jacket on, I think, with white face paint, and I don't know how you switch that look.
Well, boys, a great first week of playoffs. Lots of games on deck. We got Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay on the TNT broadcast tomorrow, Game 4, and then as well as Seattle and Colorado. And apparently Seattle, Colorado has been getting the best ratings of any of the series.
Really?
People are Seattle sports fans are out of their minds. And then you got the defending Cup champs. So I guess no surprise there. That's a little nugget from Jeff Jacobson, my buddy.
What did we say? We think Carolina will close this thing out early. I think Boston closes theirs out pretty early. I think the Rangers probably close that one out in 5 or 6. And after that, maybe Colorado if they get Game 4. But after that, we could see 4 game. I think 4 Game 7s is realistic. That's what we just want, as many of those as possible.
Hey, what? You hear about Pearson last week?
I did. And no better place in the world for somebody to steal hundreds of millions of dollars. Or was it $100 million, or was that?
No, it turns out it was 20.
20 million.
Either an over-exaggeration early on, but everybody's distracted. They're at in Maple Leaf Square watching hockey games, and then the Italian job coming in with the Mini Coopers.
No, that was a straight up like old school movie heist in which they definitely said the line for customs is 7,000 people long. Don't worry. All the eyes are on the disaster that is Pearson Airport. We can smooth right in here and just grab these gold. What are they, gold bricks? Like, who is holding $20 million of gold at Pearson? Has that come out?
I have no idea. When that story broke, I thought it was one of those ones that was just like a fake site. Like that was releasing
so did I.
but no clue as to why they had that much gold hanging out. But apparently that much money in gold can fit in one roller suitcase. So it's not like it
really?
was it's not like it's a huge like truckload of it. Yeah, it's just one big rolling suitcase.
But yeah, thieves like that. I mean, I feel like that's another level. Like this isn't some loser that goes into a bank with like a face mask on, and these guys are calculated. The only thing is, like, what do you then do with the gold? Like, how do you go about selling the gold? Who even wants to buy the gold? Just
you sell it to the Toronto Maple Leafs as part of their chain gang. Mitchie Marner and Austin Matthews will buy it.
I'm the Commandant. I'm the Midnight 8 man.
That's pretty much all I got, boys. Lots of hockey to talk about moving forward, and great pod and good shooting the shit with you boys.
Yeah, and Thursday, well, actually, so at noon today, get on our YouTube and our Twitter. We got Chiclets Game Notes Daily, and that's the daily show Monday through Friday, and we'll be back at you Thursday morning with discussions from tonight, Tuesday, and Wednesday night's game. So we're rolling. We got great hockey. We need the refs to figure it out. Come on, refs. Figure it out.
Is Canada sold out of tinfoil yet with all the fucking conspiracy theories up there? Holy shit.
They never will be. They never will be. But we'll be back, and we appreciate you guys listening, and it's playoff hockey. Let's go.